Aitsquachil. Good morning. Sanisnak Kwakantanat. My traditional name is Kwakantanat. My English name is Barbara Juarez. And on behalf of the Northwest Washington Indian Health Board and the Northwest Indian College and the Children of the Setting Sun, we would like to thank the North Sound Accountable Communities of Health for convening this partner gathering. And I was just reflecting yesterday briefly on John Powell's presentation and belonging and how important that is when the children came up and sang their song and shared their culture with you. And a funny thing happened, and as some of the people were talking yesterday about being who they are, introducing themselves. I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother of 14, and when you go through those stages of life as parenting, and you think, oh my goodness, the only time I have a moment is in the bathroom. But not when you have little toddlers, you don't even have any moments in the bathroom, and sometimes that's where you do your most precious thought processes. Yesterday, I was in the bathroom and I heard somebody say, Barbara. And I'm thinking, this is a special private moment. And somebody is hollering, Barbara, hello. And I didn't recognize the voice. I thought it was the most bizarre thing. And then I come out and she gave me a hug. I didn't know who was hollering my name. Just, you know, I was reflecting yesterday as well and talking about how important words are and how belonging is so important. When I walked in, I wasn't sure that I wanted to join the partner convening because I had to get on the freeway and come north for an hour, which is not always fun. But when I got here, I was greeted with smiles and hugs and made me feel like I belonged here. And that was really, really wonderful. And I was reflecting, I have a granddaughter who's 3 years old, and made her a ribbon skirt. And that's kind of a new thing that we got going, and it totally makes you feel really good. So I hope when I grow up, I have that sassy spirit of my 3-year-old granddaughter when she put on her skirt. She put her hip out and her hand on her hip, and she tilted her head, and she smiled. So when I was getting dressed this morning with my ribbon skirt and my blingy shoes and my copper canoe woman earrings, I looked in the mirror and thought, oh my God, I get to share the stage with my sisters who are beautiful and smart and amazing, and I felt like my 3-year-old granddaughter with that sassy spirit, and it really, I hope that when she gets to be my age, she continues to have that sassy spirit and be able to put on these blingy shoes and blingy earrings and stand up here being proud to represent who we are and where we come from. And so in introducing you to our work, Charene is going to talk a little bit about our project, but it started about 15 years ago. And what we really want to do is create Coast Salish strong communities. And in doing that, that's that sense of who we are. We look at creating protective factors that make our young people Coast Salish strong. And we have incredible 4 areas of sources of strength that make us Coast Salish strong, and that's individual, family, community, and spirit. Those were all reflected yesterday in one way or another. And earlier, the Children of the Setting Sun Institute talk about stories. So I'm so honored and proud to be working with my dear friend and my my Indian nieces, as I call them, because they said they wanted to go in the order of beauty before age. So I said, okay, let me speak first. Oh, wait a minute, I'm the oldest. Is it age before beauty? Wasn't quite sure which way that goes. But I'm so proud of these ladies. Our star of our show, Bella, is going to be shared in our documentary. And our other star of the show is Miss Charene Alexander, who is a Johns Hopkins student. Couldn't be prouder. So I would love to introduce Charene so she can share a little bit about our work and the documentary.
Good morning, friends and relatives. My name is Charene Alexander, and my traditional name is Kiskisablu, and I am an enrolled Lummi Nation tribal member, and it is my privilege to be here with you all today. I come as a community member and being able to share the work and the stories that we have to share to provide hope and healing to communities and to our brothers and sisters. I serve as the research director at Northwest Indian College Center for Health Research, but I really had humble beginnings. I began as a community action board member for this project. I was actually stood up by my colleague, my mentor, my auntie here, Barbara, who, as you'll see depicted in our documentary, saw something in me and said, you know, you have a story to tell, and we want you to come and sit at this table and share your story. And I automatically fell in love with research. And I had a couple of slides, I'm sorry, to kind of help guide my conversation today. But, you know, I really wanted to start by sharing a little bit of myself and how I got here to this stage and to be here with you all today was that I started out as just a community member who came to help contextualize and share the narrative of stories about healing. And I'm also privileged to share this stage not only with Barbara, but Quincia here and be part of her standing up. And you'll see, and she shared already a little bit about herself, but you know, how she came to be part of our story and telling what Native transformation is, the essence of Native transformation project. And you know, a lot of people will look at our documentary and think that this is a documentary about opioid crisis, opioid addiction. But I really want to challenge that perspective and, you know, share that Native transformation is really about the strengths and the resiliencies that Coast Salish communities have and that they embody. And you'll see that through, and Barbara touched a little bit on our ReefNet wellness model. And can my slides, are the slides up? So again, sorry, this is the cover of our report. So we're actually a number of projects. We're one of two, and now we have a third follow-up project to Native transformation. So if we can go ahead and move forward through the introduction, I just wanted to share the lovely Quincia here, Bella, and this is a little bit of her introduction that she did already provide and share. And the next slide is also for my wonderful mentor, Barbara, and she introduced herself already, but the next slide here is what I really kind of want to touch on so that we can get into the documentary, is that through this research, so I have a discussion guide that I'll bring to each table, but we actually are part of a research study. It was embedded in our community. It came from our community, and what we did is we took stories, life history interviews from 62 individuals from 3 Coast Salish communities, the Lummi Nation, Swinomish Indian Tribal Community, and the Upper Skagit Indian Tribe. And we just are so appreciative of this collaboration through the Health Board and through Northwest Indian College to be able to conduct these interviews to learn about what keeps our people healthy and well. because of course we all experience the devastation of drugs and alcohol in our communities. And we oftentimes can just feel the pain and the chaos that it causes. But what we wanted to better understand, but what is actually helping our people? What's keeping them well? What's keeping them healthy? And so we conducted these interviews in order to learn that. And through these interviews, we interviewed two groups: individuals who had lifetime wellness. Those are individuals who never had a problem with drugs and alcohol, or it would never affected them so significantly, and were a good example of resilience. The second group were individuals in secure wellness, and these individuals had at least 2 years or longer in recovery and abstinence from drugs and alcohol, and were a good role model of recovery. And so through those interviews, like Barb had mentioned, we identified 4 sources of strength, or 4 anchors, that really ground our people and help them to find healing and wellness. And those, again, are family, individual, community, or spiritual. And they all have their own characteristics. They all have their own attributes. And that's what we refer to as protective factors in our ReefNet wellness model here. And they serve as the buoy line. And so as long as we have strong anchors and we are practicing or exposing or informing or educating our communities about these protective factors, we can guide our people. So if you hit the next button, we can guide our people down this process of recognizing their own role in order to have a transformational shift so that they never have a problem with drugs and alcohol, or they're able to overcome a problem with drugs and alcohol. So with that, you'll see this depicted in our documentary that we're going to be sharing with you all today. And I do want to be mindful and intentional about our time, because the documentary that we're going to be sharing with you all embodies this whole ReefNet wellness model through the stories, through the protections of our communities and people. And so with that, let's go ahead and get started. And for those that we pray for. Again, Haishka, for your attention and sharing and witnessing the beautiful stories that were shared with us today. And I just would like to acknowledge and give thanks to Children of the Setting Sun Productions, founder Daryl Hilaire, and our editor, also Jordan River. I don't see him in the audience today, but they did a phenomenal job in working with us to tell these stories. And now I would just like to open it up. We really love standing with Bella. We give so much thanks for her courage, her strength, and her vulnerability to share her story with us today. And so I would just like to open the floor to Bella and to share any reflections, or if there's any questions from the audience. Bella.
Hello. I introduced myself earlier, so I won't do it again. But I really want to thank each and every one of you for having us here and for having Children of the Setting Sun Productions here. I really thank Liz and all that she's done and the work that we've done with her. When I first came on to Setting Sun, Liz was one of the first people that I met, and she met me and my family that you've seen in the video. My son is 5 now, and he's a whole, I don't even know how to explain him, but he's so curious. He's just a curious kid right now, and he's so interested in everything. And then I also have a 2-year-old son. I had him a few years back. That was a challenging change with me. He is fully deaf and learning to have to balance my life with him now, and really grounding and learning about what my future is gonna be with him, but also uplifting him in every way that I can, of being a mother and being a strong mother. But through this, I'm really learning the strengths that I have for myself and for my people. I don't think that it took me a long time to recognize, but being able to stand up here today and to ground myself in that, and knowing through this video and through this time, I was still struggling and going through a lot in my life, especially with my parents. I looked up to my dad for so long in so many ways, and it really hurt to have to continue to see him, go through the up and down with the struggles of addiction, and even with my mother as well. I didn't really think that my story was important growing up, but I didn't think that my story of being a child of addicts and not having the proper mentorship through my childhood and not really understanding my emotions and my feelings and what was right from wrong, and knowing that living through that environment, something kept me going, and knowing that I didn't want to be a part of that way of life, and seeing how much my people struggled through that, and not just me, but also other families that have struggled through that. And it's not because of, it's not that it's what they choose to do, we take on, lots of trauma that has passed down from generation to generation, and not knowing what our great-grandparents went through and what our grandparents went through, and not being able to fully heal through all of those traumas, and imagining of what my parents had to go through. And that got passed down to us, but with our generation, we're fully evolving into our culture and our ways of life, and always being what is the word? Drawn to those ways of life, which I've always been drawn to, and having to keep myself busy. There's some, I don't want to say some things, but my experience throughout my life, my family wasn't very involved in culture, and for a long time, it made me felt like I was lost of identity, and then that was really, so it made me feel like I didn't know who I was. So, but through my community and through the people I've met in my community, I used to say a lot that my parents didn't raise me, or wasn't really there for me, but as I'm growing and learning, I realized that my community has brought me up in all the ways to be where I am today. And when I became a teenager, I was going off and being lost, and starting to be curious and interested in things. And then I was with this group of friends that I was always getting in trouble all the time, and that's when it came upon of the Lummi Youth Academy, of where I went and lived, and that's the first time that I met Daryl. And I remember walking through those doors and not wanting to be there, or not wanting to live there. I was bawling my eyes out, but a few months have passed, and getting to live there, it was probably the best thing that has ever happened to me. I get emotional because it's like something a lot of us needed during that time. It was a lot of lost teenagers that was looking for a way out, to not want to deal with the things that were going on at home. And through that, a lot of us got to graduate. A lot of us have jobs now. A lot of us were able to be successful. And I'm glad to be a part of that story, and being a successful Indigenous youth who came out of that, and being able to stand up here today and getting to speak of that with all of you. And once I came on to Children of the Setting Sun Productions, my community continues to lift me up and lead me in the directions that I need to. So I'm really profoundly proud of what my people do for me and what my community does for me. And I do live at Chelangan Village now as well, and as you've seen some of the kids that are in the film, one of the girls actually, my son and her get to run around now. So that is just a proof of what our community does for us by having a safe place for our children, because where I used to live before is one of the biggest drug trafficking places in our community, and that's really hurtful because it's my homelands that were passed down to us that is going on. And it's just like, so for me being able to continue to, or for me to be able to live in Chelangan and be there, it's very hopeful. So I'm very proud of that, and I'm very thankful for what our community does for our people. Haishka.
Are there like a question here and a question there? Where are my printers? There's one. Tessa, where are you? Kay.
I think Mike has a question.
Mike Cohen.
Thank you so much for the production and for sharing your story. I'm just curious, what led you to, how did you decide to share it and to have that story be so public?
Question for Bella.
Well, can you say that again? Sorry.
I'm just curious, what gave you the courage, or how did you get inspired to share your story as part of that production?
Well and told, exactly. No, I actually came on and for us to look for other people within our community to be a part of the story. And I didn't really intend to be a part of it, but then I became to be a part of it because a lot of my family struggles with drug addictions. And so I was looking for the people who actually been through that and actually went through those type of things that I don't even know how to speak about. Like my dad said in the video, being an active addiction. But I think what just gave me the courage is the encouragement of the belief that Daryl always has for each and every one of us. I feel like it's a gift of his to have a belief with everyone and anyone around him, no matter what the consequences of things that you've been through or have dealt with. You know, he doesn't see that in you. He sees the belief that you have inside of you, or whatever gift it is that uplifts you. That continues to give me the courage to be able to speak and share my story. And, we do that with all of our people. And even within our company, every story is important. And being oral people, that's what gives me the courage and the strength to continue to do that. So I really, really, really thank Daryl and all the beliefs that he has in each and every one of us.
Hi, this isn't really a question, and it's tough to say. My grandmother was adopted from a tribal land in 1904. And she was integrated into the white community and never talked about her heritage. And in fact, we didn't even find out. I didn't find out until I was a teenager that she was adopted. My brother died of drug abuse and struggled his entire life. So thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I don't want this to end.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
I just keep looking at that picture of you all. So.
Thanks again.